Well, welcome to Stencils and Such, our monthly showcase of 2 new stencils and 4 ways that we're going to use them. We have the stencil rose and this, it's called Elegance. And let me just show you one of the cards. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, well, we're going to be doing this, so please come play with us. Well, as I said, we have the 2 stencils. The rose is a 7x7 stencil, so it's quite a little bit bigger than usually 6x6 is what we find. This comes from our friends at Stamperia. And then this is 5x8 inches. So I guess both of them are a little different, but they're giving you more stuff. Now this is an overall. We'll be doing that in a minute, but we're going to start with the rose one. And you can see that it's got several types of art on it, these swirls as well as the roses. And we're going to take advantage of that in a couple of different ways. So I have masked off some areas that I don't want to use, and I've used the low tack tape. You could use Post-it notes, you could use, if you've got washi tape, but I like the low tack because it's going to work perfectly every time and I don't have to worry about it. Now, what Debbie did on this card is that she used some different things on it too, which I really like. This brown that's here and also covered the whole card. In fact, let me just place this on a white paper so you can really see it instead of that black. And this is a suede. This is the mocha brown. And what's nice about that is that you get the texture, okay? And I'll show you what Debbie did with that in a moment. But she also used a pattern paper. And very often, when you see stamping or you see stenciling, often people will put it on white cardstock or a solid cardstock. It's perfectly fine. But I think you're going to get a different depth and beauty to your work if you put it on pattern paper. And that's personal opinion. And what she has chosen is newsprint floral and then the accompanying newsprint floral solid cardstock. So this is the 12x12 pattern, the 12x12 solid. And the sheet that she elected to use is this sheet. And you can see that it has some gold in it. It's not metallic gold, it's just a printed gold, and it's got the pattern in it. And look what happens when she applies this, which is just gorgeous. And this is the Dune stencil butter. What I love about stencil, well, that's exactly what I love about stencil butter. You can see it, but you can also feel it. So it's raised just a bit. So it's super, super simple. You are simply going to, as I said, mask off the area of your stencil that you don't want to have applied. Trim your paper down to whatever size you want. And then place your stencil. And then you'll simply use a palette knife to put that stencil butter in place. Now, let me demonstrate on the suede, okay, because there's a different thing that's going on and I want you to see that. So after you've trimmed this piece, you have applied your stencil butter, then mat it on the light blue solid newsprint floral, and then attach it to your card. And you can use extra sticky tape, you can use any of the adhesives. So that's going to be your base. But she also wanted to take advantage of those roses. So let me show you what she did. So we're going to have the suede right here. And again, you're going to want to mask off any area that's around it that you don't want to have attached. And I'm just going to put it not in the middle, but down here, because eventually I'm going to want to cut that out. And I do want to attach it with my low tack tape. So here we go. And this is, you know, kind of what we do with stenciling is you always want to have it attached to your paper, or in this case, your suede. And you want to have your area that you want to use really available. Okay, so what Debbie did, I just noticed, is she used a different color for the leaves. So that's another reason for using the low-tack tape and just masking that off. And I'll tell you, it's really handy to look at her project, look at a photo of it. That way you'll be sure to put the tape over all of the areas that are going to end up green. And you don't have to be too careful with it, because there we go. Okay, I don't want that. Okay, so you see how that's all ready for me. Now, the colors that she has used is Dune. She also used Tangerine, which I expected to be an orange, but it's not. And she also used Seafoam. Now, the Seafoam is going to be the leaves. The Dune, as you can see, was what we used here for the gold. And then the Tangerine is what we're using right here for the flower. Now, you can tell that that color is a little bit different, and I'll show you what she did. So I'm just going to do my demonstration right here on the suede. And I thought stenciling on suede was just a brilliant idea, don't you think? So the stencil butter is very soft. You can see, kind of buttery, hence the name. And I'm just going to take a little bit, and I'm going to put it right here. And then I'm going to spread it with my palette knife. And we don't want a thick coating. We just want it as thick as the stencil is. Okay. And this is kind of why you want to have the tape in places, because there's no sense in using the butter in areas that you are going to throw away. So just do this, and you want to hear the sound of the stencil being covered with the palette knife. So let me tell you. Okay, can you hear that? Kind of scraping. Okay, and you can see it's getting completely covered. And remember, I only took a little bit. Well, I've got stuff left, so I'm just going to put it back in the jar, like so. And I'm putting my palette knife in water because I have a tray of water. Now, I always suggest and try to follow, do what I say, not as I do, follow lifting it up to make sure that I've done exactly the areas I wanted to, and I did. Okay, so that works just fine. Now, I would actually let this dry and then come back and remove the areas for the next color, which is going to be the seafoam for the leaves. Now, I can remove the tape at this point. It's perfectly fine to do. And then I do want to get this into water, because you do not want the stencil butter to dry on your stencil or anywhere else other than the paper or the suede or whatever you wanted. So I'm just going to lift this puppy up and put this into my water. Now, this is going to dry. You can see, I hope you can see, that the color is different than the finished product. This is softer. So what Debbie did is after it was dry, she misted it with our glimmer mist, and that softened the color, which I thought was relatively brilliant. And I don't think she put it in her instructions, which are down below. So I just wanted to make sure that you got that piece of information. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry. And you know that there's 2 more steps to get the seafoam in there. And then we're going to die cut it. We're going to die cut it with our oval cutting die, of course. So we have the ovals with the scalloped. That's going to work. We're just going to use the oval. So we're doing it off of the suede, just beautiful, very smart color. And then we're going to mat it on that same light blue that we used on the first layer. Then this is going to get foam taped. Now, don't you love how that thanks is just going along the curve? Well, that was because Debbie used our tiny words and phrases in gold. And this sheet is sold by itself. And it is actually also the free gift that our subscribers got this month. So that's going to go right there. So you've got a couple of shades of gold going on, as well as the gold here. So very, very nice. So I'm going to set all of that aside. Don't forget the glimmer mist. And we're going to move on to our second project, which is also using the rose stencil. And this one is a little bit different in that, well, you can see that the end result is different. This is very elegant, and this is softer, more romantic look. This is a thank you card, is what she has chosen. It could be birthday, could be thinking of you, could be anything. This is a sympathy card. And one of our people, you, sent in a message that she wished we had more things for sympathy. And I think what's true is that you can do anything and make anything into a sympathy card, pretty much anything. This could be a sympathy card. This could be the others that I have that I'll show you in a minute could be sympathy cards. It's really just getting the tone the way you want it. And of course the words. Well, we help you with the words because we do have a sympathy set of dazzles. And this is black, white, gold, and silver, I think. Yeah, and maybe brown too. So sorry for your loss is right there, and there are more words in it. But what Lene did this time is that she used the same stencil, but she used a different set of papers. So that's going to look different. And this set is romantic florals, just perfect. Can you see how just that looks just so good together? And so she's used this 12 by 12 patterned and also the 12 by 12 solids, good combination. So she has cut them. The first one is the patterned, and let me show you. She gave me a sheet of it. So this is what she used, so you can see the music notes on it. And in doing her stenciling for this one, she used the ink pads. So she has used hot pink, which you would think would be too striking, but look how well it worked. And khaki is the green. And she also used our gold ink pad to use the gold. Now, all of this is going to stay flat. The only thing that's three-dimensional is the ribbon. There's a paper doily and the dazzles. So everything else is flat. Just a different way of doing it. And I think it's really nice to see that difference. So when you are using the ink pad, in fact, let me grab the stencil again and let me just show you. So I have my paper taped down to my craft mat. You always want to use your craft mat. And I'm going to take my stencil. Now the stencil, as you may recall, has got all the flowers, and then it's got these swirls along the edges. So I'm just going to position this with the flowers kind of in the middle. I'm not going to worry about the swirls because I'll go back later and do those. So I'm going to hold that in place. Now, as I said, we're going to use hot pink and khaki to do our flowers. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of them. I'm just going to do a little smidgen to share with you. And we're using the finger daubers, so I'm going to put that on my finger. And we're just going to daub, just like this. And if you wanted to tape off the leaves, you certainly could. In this case, I'm not, because I want to get moving into this. So I'll just do that. Now, you can do it all in one color or one shade by doing it firmer, or you can just do like I've done, where it's a little mottled, so to speak. Okay, let me just lift this up and show you. Okay, so it is, so you can see there's light pink, darker pink. That's perfectly fine. When I did this one, I just touched it a little bit and I got a much lighter color. So your choice. There's no right or wrong to anything in paper crafting because, you know, you get to decide. It's your project. So I just wanted to show you the differences. It looks much more dramatic in the hot pink color than it ends up being on the pattern cardstock. Then we would go back and go into the khaki and use that for the leaves. Now again, you could tape it off and get a more defined image than what I'm giving you in this quick demonstration. So, okay, and there you see. So that's very light. I can go back and make it darker, just like you can. That's why I never take my stencil off until I've looked and said, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want. Okay, so you can do that through all of the flowers. Then, and that's another reason why it's good to go ahead and cut your paper to the finish size that you're going to want, because that way you're just doing the stenciling in the area that you're going to use. Now, with this, I'm going to lift that off, and then I just wanted to tell you what Lene did. Can you see the darker edge? Well, that was done with gingerbread. So gingerbread is a nice medium brown. So she inked the edges, which I thought was a nice choice, and it really kind of blended with the colors that are going on there. She then did matted on the romantic floral, that soft pink, and then glued it to the front of her card. She allowed the white edge, and I'll tell you why she did that, because she wanted, let me slide this over. Oh, no, I want to show you one more thing. Okay, before I slide that over. Okay, there's swirls. Remember the swirls? I'm glad you didn't let me forget that. So the swirl, and this is the one that she put right here. So I want mine to be just like Lene's. So I'm going to place it, and I have my tape on. Then she used the gold ink pad, and I'm going to use the daubers with that, and went over it. So let's see. Now again, this is going to be a softer look than what we had with the stencil butters, because inks do give you a softer look, and that's, you know, that's fine. It gives you lots of choices. Now I'm not going to do a whole lot more. I'm just doing that. Okay, so it looks like I really need to get in there and get a little more saturation of my ink pad, and then I need to get it back to Debbie, so she's got it on her work table. Okay, let's see how that goes. There we go. We're getting our gold, so very nice, and you just keep going. And of course, it would be good to tape off the areas you don't want to use, but since this is a nice long swirl, I didn't think I needed to do that. I didn't want to take your time to do that, basically. Okay, so we've got our swirl started, and looks very similar to the one that Lene had. So you want to do it in that order. You want to do the pink, then the green, then move everything and get the gold. And the gold does have a bit of a shine. It is just a softer look. Okay, so those are the ink pads that she chose. Then, let me get this out of the way so I can show you what else she did. So there's a doily, a paper doily, and you know, that might be easy not to see, but that's why she left that white edge. Now, it's not the full doily. The doily is 4 inches across. So you can see that she just cut a piece, and an easy way to do that is to glue it down and then trim it to fit. Or in this case, do you see that little pink edge? That is so easy to do. Let's take our hot pink and our doily. These doilies come in very handy. Anytime you want a very feminine, very romantic look, soft look, it works well. Now you could do this probably with a dauber, but I think that, All you do is just go right around the edge. It's just no big deal. You know, we're not going all the way into it. We're just doing that little bit of an edge. And doing also stenciling one of the flowers in here. And you can see that the doily has a texture to it, and it's going to show on that flower. I'm not sure if the camera can catch it, but okay. Then this is the gold and silver ribbon with a perfectly tied bow, and that was zotted in place. Then the final touch was to add the dazzles right there. So that's our second look at this beautiful Shabby Rose stencil. Just has many looks to it, all staying in the rose look. Okay, now let's go to our other stencil, which is the Elegance stencil. And it's kind of an Art Deco almost look. And here is what Debbie did with it. And I have to tell you, this is stencil butter, so we've got a texture to it. It's just really, really nice. And this is stencil butter, so let me show you the collection that she used. So here is fuchsia and orchid and denim. So those three, in fact, let me turn them like that. So you can see they are all, they work together quite beautifully. And I thought it was really fun the way she did this. So all you'll do, it's the same process. Now in this case, she elected to use a patterned paper. It's lightly patterned, but again, it's going to give you more than just a white background. It's going to give you some depth. And the collection that she chose to play with this is called Carnations. Isn't that interesting? So Carnation, excuse me, 12 by 12 pattern, Carnation 12 by 12 solid. It's going to work together. And we'll talk about these pieces later, but let's just do this one. So first she covered her card in this very soft carnation paper out of the paper pack. And then she chose this purple, and she placed her stencil, as you can see, her kind of these fans are going down. So she did it like that. And then she just did one piece that's going to be as wide as her card. So this is 5 inches by 6.5. So she would cut her piece to be, 6 inches by maybe 7.5. So you've got a little bit extra to play with. That way, when you trim it down, you have your image the whole width of your card, okay? And as she was laying this, let's get in super close so we can see. And you can see that she started with the fuchsia, and then she blended in the orchid, but not by the row. It kind of overlaps a little bit, which is great. Then she went into the denim. So the colors are overlapping ever so slightly. Let me show you on the bottom. Same thing, started with the fuchsia, then a little bit of fuchsia. So no masking off, you know, play fair, no masking on this. So just put your palette knife going, and then go into the orchid and then into the denim. Okay, so do the whole sheet, and then we can go back now. Then she took her scissors after it was dry and just go right along here. One other thing, remember how I keep saying with stencil butter, you want to get your stencil into water? Well, in this case, because you're doing these colors one after the other, you don't go into the water between colors. You want them to blend. Okay, so you're going to do the fuchsia, then the orchid, then the denim, and just keep going with it. And that's going to work out just really nice. Okay, now, after this was dry, then she cut it right along the edge. And then she glued it a piece to the top and the bottom. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Same thing. But she wanted to have this opening in the middle. You don't have to. You could have let it be all of this pattern it's up to you. But she wanted to play with the carnations. Then she went into the carnations die cuts, and that's what this is. Thankful and blessed. So that is foam taped in place. Then the chipboard. Okay, let me show you that. So the chipboard, the carnation chipboard, has 23 pieces on it. Now she could have used the Thinking of You, and she could have colored that with the stencil butters, but instead she chose this piece. So that long stem, and she colored the blossom with the fuchsia and the stem with something I haven't shown you yet. This is green pear, and just put them on with her palette and let it dry. Then there's a butterfly, and this butterfly is a combination of the orchid and the denim. You can see that. Then these were simply foam taped in place. Really pretty. Just remember this, remember that technique. Anytime you have a reoccurring pattern that you want to play with, and it's fun, I think it's a good idea to lay your stencil butters like this so that you can see, gee, are those colors going to go together? Like, we wouldn't have put the green in there. That's kind of, well, I think it is. I think it's kind of jarring, but these really do blend together nicely. Okay, so that works. Now, what did Lene do with her Elegance stencil? Well, this is what she did. And how different is that? Very, very fun. Now, this has been used on the Hunky Dory tent cards that are for Slimline. And she's done two things. She has used, this is champagne stardust butter. It is for stenciling, but it's called stardust, and it's because it has a reflective quality. Yes, you can see, and it's raised. Neato. And then this has been done with the charcoal ink pad. So this is flat. And then we used that gold ink pad again along the edges. Just did it, you know, kind of the old-fashioned way, like this, just going right along the edge. So we've got two different looks, and I'll talk about the stencils, excuse me, I'll talk about the dazzles in just a second, but let's go with this to begin with. So she did use the stencil, and remember, this is 5 by 8 inches, so it's going to go the whole length of the card in one swipe, so that's really nice, and simply used her daubers going into the stencil, using the stencil on the card front, okay? Then set that aside, and she cut a piece of red, and she chose her red out of Sparkling Season cardstock. This is the solid. Any red is going to work. You just want that pop of black and red because that's so striking. And in this case, she cut it, and then she placed the stencil, and then used the champagne stardust butter, just the way we've used it. Now, one way, when you're doing one color in the whole swipe, you can also use our stencil buddy. And our stencil buddy, let me get this little puppy opened for you, is like this. So it has a curve and a straight edge. You would simply get your stencil butter on the part of it you want to use and just go right down your piece, and you're going to get a smooth finish. So that works if you've got one color that you want to use. It might work if you've got multiple colors. You can try that out. Then she did mat that on black, as you can tell. And notice it's not square in the center of the card, it's just to the left. And I think that's a nice look to this. Now, she wanted this to have an Asian feel and a friendship feel. So she chose these dazzles. These are called our Far East dazzles. And you can see this one big border she very effectively used right there. And then she took one of the icons, and this happens to be the friendship icon, placed it on the gold Mary. Remember, we used that earlier, first card. Then matted that on black and foam taped it here, and then the friendship dazzle are across the top of it. So just very, very striking. So a great way, oh, and this is also, now we talked about using patterned papers, and that's what we did on all the other cards. This one is just on solids. So in this case, it works perfectly, doesn't it? I like to bring up the patterned cardstock because I think not many people think of that. But it's also nice to see just the plain, isn't it? It really does show off the artwork on the stencil. Okay, and plus it's kind of nice to have a stencil that's going to go that whole 8 inches in one fell swoop, that you don't have to kind of piece it together. Okay, well, that's what we have for you today. That's just pretty amazing, don't you think? We've got 2 very different stencils, which is what we always want to do, and from 2 different companies, and that's kind of fun to do. Both of them are international companies, so that's also fun. Now, I do want to tell you that these are available. There is, of course, they're available. There's a money saver on the right side of your screen. We've put this together with our tiny words and phrases, just to get you that. And then if you would like, every single month we will have something new in our stencils and such. We will always have 2 stencils, although I do have to tell you that sometimes we have 4, but they will never go over $15. As a matter of fact, this month it's even less than $15, and that's a savings we want to pass along to you. So with our subscription, you're going to get 2 stencils every month. You're going to get them before the webisode airs. You will get a free goodie. That's what you're getting this month. That's what those of you who have subscribed have already gotten. And you will get both of them, as I said. So all of that is going to happen, and you're going to get it before the webisode airs. So you get a chance to look at these and touch them and see what ideas are on the back that the manufacturers have provided. And then we're going to give you some what our design team has done. Okay, so this is available where? Right-hand side of the screen, as is everything else. Okay, I'd like to just let you know that if you're watching this on YouTube, we hope that you will subscribe, because that's really important for our ratings, and that you will like us. Please leave a comment if you would like. By the way, you can leave a comment here too. You just keep scrolling down and down and down past where the cards are, but even further, and then you can see the area to leave a comment. We welcome that. And I want to thank Lene and Debbie for doing just an outstanding job, giving us so many ideas with 2 pieces of plastic. Isn't that neat how much you can do with all of these goodies? Okay, thank you, ladies, and I want to thank you for being part of our Paper Wishes family. We'll see you next time.